Here's a few numbers to support why Angels manager Ron Washington, one of only two black managers in Major League Baseball, has one of the hottest teams in the game right now. The Angels have a 7-game winning streak heading into tonight's home game against Miami. The Angels are 11-5 in their last 16 games. They have had at least one home run in 12 straight games. Left fielder Taylor Ward has delivered an extra base hit in 8 straight games, including a game-changing grand slam on Thursday at Oakland. The Angels are now 500 on the road at 15-15. Let's hope that Washington can keep his team in a good groove. The LA Sparks are back in action tonight at Crypto.com against the WNBA's new franchise, the Golden State Valkyries. Newly acquired guard Kelsey Plum leads the WNBA and made three-pointers with 3.7 per game. Plum ranks second in the league in scoring at 26.7. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Hit the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is Resilience in the Face of Chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. First Memorial Day. No ribs, no beer, no barbecue, no day off. Slavery had existed from 1619 to the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. Before World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, the war in Iraq, the war on terror, before these men and women paid the ultimate sacrifice, the first Memorial Day was on May 1st, 1865. It was started by newly freed men. This day was all business, serious business. The red states were on the run. Treason against the government was punishable by death, by hanging. But Lincoln was forgiven. He was a forgiving man. He passed out more pardons than any president in American history. the federal government put troops, including Negro-colored troops, in the South to keep the newly freed slaves protected from the defeated Confederacy. The world was upside down for the red states Southerners. The United States colored troops had been armed by the federal government, and the Southerners looked down the barrels of guns held by freedmen from the North. With the presence of the federal government in the South, the 13th Amendment of 1865, the 14th Amendment of 1867, and the 15th Amendment to the Constitution of 1868 was added. In order for many of the states that seceded from the Union to be added back to the country, they had to pass the Reconstruction Amendments for reentry. Filled with promise, we voted for the first time and elected the first Congressional Black Caucus. The new peace was fragile. The federal government, not unreconstructed states, protected, and their protection was the key to our sustainability. The Tilden-Hayes Compromise of 1877 and Plessy versus Ferguson decision of 1896 would show just how fragile the peace really was. To keep the unreconstructed Southern states from slipping back into their slavery behavior, they had to be held at gunpoint. It lasted until the Tilden-Hayes Compromise of 1877. But it would be these women on May 1st, 1865, not June 1st, May 1st, 1865, who would begin a tradition. I believe the tradition was in Richmond, Virginia, where for Northern troops who were buried in Richmond, African American troops, Black troops, U.S. colored troops who were buried in Richmond, they would begin a process, a ritual of walking around the graves of the colored troops and the Union troops who set them free. They would put flowers on their graves. They would put roses on their graves. They would sing songs. They would pray. The Tilden-Hayes Compromise ended the federal presence and protection of the freedmen in the South, and as soon as it ended, the Night Riders, the Ku Klux Klan, came into existence and began terrorizing the freedmen, especially at election time. It includes the longest uninterrupted period of lynching in American history. With the withdrawal of federal protection and law, the states began Jim Crow laws, and it was reinforced by the separate and unequal doctrine of Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896. The red states' behavior would continue until Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954, which overturned Plessy versus Ferguson. Brown would lay the foundation for the modern civil rights movement with Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr. in Montgomery, Alabama. The modern civil rights movement laid the foundation for Jesse Jackson in 84 and 88. It laid the foundation for Barack Obama in 2008, and it laid the foundation for Kamala Harris in 2024. That was the first Memorial Day. They'll try and tell you that it's about something else, that it has something to do with World War I or World War II or the Korean War or Vietnam War or the war in Iraq or the war on terror. But this war was about the memorializing of the men who set us free. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, we'll talk about Memorial Day and some of the issues that we're looking at on this one.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
You really about to do it?
40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music.
You really about to do it?
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Who among us doesn't like black music? But Kendrick is right. This moment is so much bigger than music. These are serious times. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people who understand that slogans are not solutions. When you want substantial and sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love, this is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is our education correspondent and contributor, Diallo Brooks. Diallo is an amazing person with over 25 years of leadership experience. He dedicated his career to working for social justice through government, philanthropic, and nonprofit advocacy institutions. He's the former senior equity fellow at the United States Department of Education, where he was on loan from the Schott Foundation for Public Education. In this role, his focus was on addressing equity and justice issues within the education system. Diallo, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks, Jesse. It's great to be on again.
I'm excited that you are here. Before we talk about Harvard and the administration's efforts to change the policies of a private institution, can you opine for us and share your thoughts on the significance of Memorial Day?
Yeah, for me, the significance, and I think you laid it out well right before the break. The significance is really to take a moment and to reflect, not just have cookouts and have celebrations that we're hanging out with our friends and family, but we really understand the commitment and the sacrifice that so many have made for us to be able to do stuff like that. And particularly the Black soldiers that are the reason we even have a Memorial Day. And so it's important just to reflect. It's important to make sure that we honor them in this moment. And we don't just get lost in the celebration of having fun and having a day off, but really about the significant contributions and sacrifice that they and their families have made.
I think that's part of the story, Diallo, that has ultimately been lost. We have to remind people of this history. And that is, remember now, just like animals going into Noah's Ark before the American Civil War, states were being admitted to the Union, one state that was free, one state that was slave, in order to keep the balance. A number of states were admitted to the Union as part of those racial compromises. And so when we hear today that the President of the United States wants to shut down Washington and turn power over to the states, part of that reflection has to be that as we reflect upon a return to states' rights, there will be no federal protection to protect us at the polling places, no federal protection to protect us in education systems. There will be no federal protections protecting us from health care discrimination. The absence of the federal government, a national coordinating government entity, is a guarantee of a separate and unequal system. And so there absolutely is an important role for the federal government in the development of policy. Diallo, a lot going on in education, and I really want you to have your way with the program today. If you don't mind, can we start with Harvard and the president's unprecedented engagement with a private institution?
So, let me put this in a larger context too. As folks that have been steeped in the civil rights movement, the civil rights legacy, civil rights history, both you and your family and me and my family have a long track record in that space. The federal government became a place of refuge for us in order to fight back against injustices. We use the rule of law to push back on things that they made promises around that we held them accountable for. And in this administration, we see the rolling back of that, the rolling back of any protections that are constitutional protections that we have fought for to protect us against this kind of tyranny. And so it's a dangerous and scary time. And then more specifically, what's happening at Harvard with the expulsion or the pulling back of the ability to house and educate students that are not from this country is unprecedented. That the federal government would actually weigh in on the day-to-day business of a university whose mission is to educate and create an environment where more of our young people have the tools and skills necessary to not only lead in industry, but lead in government, lead in the world. And to see the federal government mess in that as a punitive thing is we're in a dangerous time. And it's important that folks understand that it's unprecedented. We don't see this stuff happen, at least in modern history, where they're micro picking what they want to address with a lot of these universities. And so we have to push back, we have to hold accountable, and we have to talk about it so people actually know the story.
Diallo, do you sense that other Ivy League institutions are going to come to Harvard's rescue or join them in this battle? Or is this going to be a situation where everyone sits back and waits or watches what is taking place? And obviously this is a private institution, so we can only imagine what the administration's capacity to, if you will, jerk public education institutions of higher learning around over federal research dollars, and every single one of them is the beneficiary of those kinds of dollars, if in fact Harvard is unsuccessful.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful that that whole Ivy League system will rally around each other and have become strategic partners with each other to protect the institutions, because what happens at Harvard, if it can happen at Harvard, it can happen anywhere. Even other private institutions that are even not Ivy League institutions should step up in this moment to support, because this is just a trend. If you see the shot at Harvard, it basically is a warning shot for every other university in this country, that as the federal government will use our power to undermine and make you conform to our will around what we want to see in education environments. And what's even scarier, you talked about the state institutions that are funded by states. I mean, you see what's happening with Florida A&M University in Florida. The president doesn't have to do it directly, particularly in red states, and a lot of HBCUs and others are in these redder states. They can use the state government as a proxy to create the control that they want to see as well. So they got a double-edged sword. So I know folks will probably be a little bit careful in this moment, but it's also important not to just be careful and allow this stuff to happen, but actually push back and hold accountable an administration. And if you see universities locking arms around that, I think it'll send a powerful message to the federal government that, and this administration in particular, that folks are not going to stand by and let business happen the way they want it to happen.
You know, Diallo, I find it ironic that philosophically conservatives, Republicans, and even the MAGA crowd has argued that the federal government should not be in the business of the states. It should not be at the local level. It has other priorities. But what we actually see here is an unprecedented meddling by the federal government in state affairs. For example, in Newark, New Jersey, Mayor Ras Baraka went to a ICE facility to conduct a standard process of evaluating whether or not the facility itself was meeting local codes in Newark, New Jersey. He showed up with a congressional delegation. So not only the issue of local ordinances, for which the mayor has the right to enforce, members of Congress showed up because of the relationship between the facility and a federal function, the Immigration Custom Enforcement Agency. The mayor was arrested. His charges were ultimately dropped. But now Congresswoman MacIver is now facing 2 felony charges, and 11 Republicans who are former members of Congress are calling these charges some of the most outrageous they've ever heard of. That can only be designed to offer a chilling effect for any member of Congress that opposes this administration. Your thoughts? Diallo?
Yeah, sorry about that. Lost you sitting in the car for a second.
I definitely don't want you to have it. I definitely don't want you to have an accident.
Oh, no, I'm parked, so you're good. Yeah, I think this is a dangerous time, and you see these attacks by this administration of using the Justice Department as a weapon, when the Justice Department really should be an independent agency that evaluates the law and follows the law, and not be a proxy for the wishes of this administration, and be a proxy to have a punitive impact on whoever they deem as their enemies. In this particular moment, I think that it's outrageous to see this happen. It's important that congressional leaders utilize their power, their visibility, to step up in this moment, to call out the atrocities that they see, and quite honestly, just as a part of who we are as Americans, the ability to protest, the ability to push back and say that things are happening that we feel we have a problem with, be able to stand up to be able to be a counter voice in this moment. And so to see the Justice Department move in that manner, and we've seen it with the judge in Wisconsin, we've seen it, in other instances, and it is important that not only these congressional members but the public call this out, because once they go down this road, they'll continue to go down this road. They'll continue to be on the attack. And so it's important for us to highlight what's happening, and then articulate, and I think you've done a great job at doing this, is articulating how they're violating the spirit of the modern Constitution, not just the Constitution as originally written, but the Constitution as it has been amended over the years as well. And so I think it's incredibly important, but it's also incredibly troubling. I always say, though, that in troubling times, you can't sit on the sidelines, you have to push back. And, these congressional leaders and mayors and others are, putting themselves in harm's way because they know it is important to do so.
I want to go back to the reflection, the Memorial Day reflection for a moment. Let's not forget, in World War I, there are veterans all across our country who've paid the ultimate price for the freedoms that we enjoy. Those freedoms were also fought for in World War II. Those freedoms, we were told and led to believe, were at stake in Korea and Vietnam. We believed that those freedoms were at stake after 9/11 in Iraq, the war on terror. These men and women paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we could live, so that the Constitution would make sense in our time and space. And on this Memorial Day, a member of Congress is facing felony charges for performing their function. Other members of Congress have been threatened by the Speaker of the House. Yesterday, or day before yesterday, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries reminded the Speaker of the House that he does not work for them, he works for the American people. And this disrespect is continuing. It adds a somber moment, Diallo, to the idea of the significance of this holiday. It's really a holy day, by the way. I think it's a holy day, not a holiday. Given the sacrifices that have been made, it should be a holy day, not a day for barbecue and beer and for kicking it, but as you said, for solid reflection. Diallo?
Yeah. So this is, as a son of a Vietnam veteran, as a son of, my stepfather served in the Navy, my grandfather is buried at Arlington Cemetery as an Army veteran as well. There's a tremendous sacrifice that particularly Black folks have made to protect the Constitution and fight for the rights of this country. And oftentimes they weren't treated and afforded the rights that the Constitution espouses when they came back home. They weren't supported in the way. And then there's many other groups as well. I mean, there's Latino folks that have been treated the same way. There's even, poor white folks that have been treated the same way. There's a lot of veterans that haven't gotten the support that they need. And so, like you said, it should be remembered that these folks that are in our military service fight for the freedom that's within the Constitution. And that is important.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is Diallo Brooks. When we come forward, we will continue this conversation on the appropriate way to honor our war dead.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Security is tight at Jewish sites across New York City after 2 Israeli embassy staffers were killed in D.C. Black Mayor Eric Adams condemned the attack and urged an end to pro-Palestinian protest.
We cannot color code hatred.
Suspect Elias Rodriguez is charged with first-degree murder and reportedly yelled "Free Palestine" during his arrest. The city of Chicago has settled with Black actor Jussie Smollett after suing to recover $130,000 spent on his false police report. His 2021 conviction was overturned last year. As part of the deal, he'll donate $50,000 to a local youth arts center. And a federal judge is criticizing the quick arrest and drop charge against Black Newark, New Jersey Mayor Ras Baraka. U.S. Magistrate Judge Andre Espinoza called the dismissed trespassing case an embarrassing retraction and warned prosecutors not to pursue convictions for political gain. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Here's a few numbers to support why Angels manager Ron Washington, one of only 2 Black managers in Major League Baseball, has one of the hottest teams in the game right now. The Angels have a 7-game winning streak heading into tonight's home game against Miami. The Angels are 11-5 in their last 16 games. They have had at least 1 home run in 12 straight games. Left fielder Taylor Ward has delivered an extra base hit in 8 straight games, including a game-changing grand slam on Thursday at Oakland. The Angels are now 500 on the road at 15-15. Let's hope that Washington can keep his team in a good groove. The LA Sparks are back in action tonight at Crypto.com against the WNBA's new franchise, the Golden State Valkyries. Newly acquired guard Kelsey Plume leads the WNBA and made three-pointers with 3.7 per game. Plume ranks second in the league in scoring at 26.7. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The Comedy Connection series featuring KBLA's Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, and the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're going to transform relationship disasters into stand-up material live at Inglewood's Miracle Theater on May 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My clinical team will disclose all of your dating woes, while the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady, has hand-selected supremely talented comedians to roast all of our tragic relationship choices. I dare you to bring your ex's phone number because Ray, he's going to text it live and the crowd will be sourcing emojis. Tickets are moving swiftly, so don't hesitate to grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before I diagnose your dating history as a pre-existing condition.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this. Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Took the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do do about it?
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth.
Hello, Joe. You're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive and we don't black down.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is Diallo Brooks. The exact origins of Memorial Day are disputed, with at least 5 towns claiming to give birth to the holiday sometime near the end of the Civil War. Yale University historian David Blight places the first Memorial Day in April of 1865, when a group of former slaves gathered at a Charleston, South Carolina horse track turned Confederate prison where more than 250 Union soldiers had died. Digging up the soldiers' mass grave, they interred the bodies in individual graves, built a 100-yard fence around them, and erected an archway over the entrance bearing the words, "Martyrs of the Racecourse." On May 1st, 1865, some 10,000 Black Charleston residents, white missionaries, teachers, school children, and Union troops marched around the Planters Racecourse, singing and carrying armfuls of roses. Gathering in the graveyard, the crowd watched 5 Black preachers recite scripture, and a children's choir sang spirituals and the Star-Spangled Banner. While the story is largely forgotten today, some historians consider the gathering the first Memorial Day. Despite scattered celebrations in the small towns, it took more than 3 years for the holiday to become a widely observed event. In a proclamation, General John A. Logan of the Grand Army of the Republic, an organizer of former soldiers and sailors, dubbed May 30th, 1868 Decoration Day, which was designated for the purposes of strewing the flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion. On Decoration Day that year, General James Garfield gave a speech at Arlington National Cemetery. Afterward, 5,000 observers adorned the graves of more than 20,000 Union and Confederate soldiers entombed at the cemetery. It would be in 1971, with an act of Congress, that Congress moved Memorial Day from May 30th to the last Monday in May. But critics say guaranteeing that the holiday is part of a 3-day weekend promotes relaxation instead of stressing the holiday's true meaning. My very special guest for our Memorial Day program is Diallo Brooks. Diallo, there's got to be something on your mind when you think about where we were and now where we are.
Yeah, it's been a long road. I mean, for me, that's really what comes to mind, is that it's been a long road, and we're still on that road toward freedom. When you think about the history, it's been a march toward freedom. It's been a march toward justice. It's been a march toward not just equality, but real equity, for our families, for our communities, for us to be whole. And so as we kind of reflect on this moment, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. There's tyranny within this administration and how they're treating the American people, and in particular Black and brown and often marginalized folks, immigrants and others. So, you know, as we remember the struggle, as we remember the sacrifice, we have to remember why it was done. It wasn't just to fight foreign wars and to go overseas and plant democracy all over the world. It really was about our freedom here. Our ability to live up to the ideals that America espouses, but yet has never lived up to completely. And so the fight continues to clear a pathway for us to really realize that.
I remind people all the time that our history is American history. This is our Holocaust. And it is for us to share on Memorial Day so that immigrants who know not our experience, that is, slave and black, and others may understand the period that they are living in. Our history from 1619 to the present is the nation's history. It's its sixth sense. We have an instinct born of experience, history, and the observation of the nation's national behavior. And it really, really does matter to the current discourse. Diallo, I know you saw what I saw on the news this past week when the South African president came to the United States offering trade and good tidings of joy, only to be berated in the Oval Office by the President of the United States. In fact, it reminded me of the treatment that Vladimir Zelensky received when the president was in when the visitor, if you will, was in the exact same seat. Your thoughts?
Right. So my thoughts are, as I looked at what happened with Vladimir when he visited the White House, that was one thing, but it's even worse, I feel, when it's an African, a black president, a black leader of a country, and in particular a country that had lived under the tyranny of apartheid for so long, and an apartheid that at times the United States supported. And to have an American president in the modern times berate, talk down to, belittle an African president, let alone the South African president, was very troubling. And also spewing non-factual information about what's happening in South Africa. And to be honest with you, it was definitely something that kind of angered me at the moment when I listened to it and when I watched it. You know, we're at a point in time where, you know, we're in an administration where they can just make up anything. They say anything, talking about white farmers being killed and this mass killing of white farmers that's happening, and it's not true. And to spread these untruths and to use that as a weapon against a country that has been under tyranny for a very long time, and it still remains that way because the distribution of wealth and power in that country still is unbalanced. I find it incredibly troubling. And like I said, I hope folks wake up like we did during the anti-apartheid movement, band together, call out this administration for its racist attack on an African country, an independent African country that is trying to emerge as a world leader post-apartheid. I think it's important for us to exercise our voice in this moment, our disdain for how the president treated him, and the rest of the dignitaries from South Africa that were there, all of which were black.
Diallo, we have about 50 seconds before we go to the break. Donald Trump has begun the process of bringing Afrikaners to the United States based on the factual basis that he argued in front of the president. Your initial thoughts about what that really, really means and what it really signals?
Not just a racist approach toward immigration. It's basically, reinforcing the anti-DEI stuff that he's doing here and doing it within the immigration space and saying we're going to bring white folks over here that we think are being persecuted, but yet doing all the atrocities toward other folks where they're deporting people, breaking up families, and sending folks to prisons overseas.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are commemorating Memorial Day on this occasion. Until we come forward, Diallo Brooks.
The station you turn to when you had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults age 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI. Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. S&P volunteers work in their community, educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an S&P open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PUSH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PUSH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PUSH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
You could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest, Diallo Brooks. Diallo, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Diallo, if I can just opine on a little bit more history in our final segment. At the outset, Memorial Day was so closely linked with the Union cause that many Southern states refused to celebrate it. They acquiesced only after World War I, when the holiday was expanded beyond honoring fallen Civil War soldiers to recognizing Americans who died in fighting all wars. In other words, they changed the history then because they didn't want to talk about race, slavery, reparations, and the consequences of their behavior and where it left our people. It was also renamed Memorial Day. Some critics say that by making the holiday more inclusive, however, the original focus on, as Frederick Douglass put it, the moral clash between slavery and freedom, barbarism and civilization had been lost. Most Southern states still recognize Confederate Memorial Day as an official holiday, and many celebrated on the June birthday of Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy. But Texas, for one, observes the holiday of Robert E. Lee on January 19th, which also happens to be the date that we celebrate the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. And so while we're celebrating a holiday on one side of town because of the contribution that we made to America, people on the other side of town, they're also having barbecue, but they're not celebrating the same things that we are celebrating. Diallo, once again, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Diallo, these are... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think you hit the nail on the head with that.
These are some particularly trying times, and your mind I profoundly respect in the spaces that you have operated in, particularly in the education space. Some people who are listening to our voices today are hearing these stories for the first time. How troubling for you is that as an educator?
Well, it's troubling because our history, our real history, is something that we need to make sure that all Americans, not just Black Americans, but all Americans, get a true fulfillment of throughout their educational journey. And I use the word fulfillment because it needs to not just be something that folks check off, but really understand the integrated history of this country in a way that tells the truth, the hard truths, because that truth is part of growth. Like anybody that grows knows that there's hard time when you grow. When you first start to walk, you fall down, right? You got to get up. As you get older and you start to grow, maybe your knees hurt a little bit because you get that growth spurt, right? Growth is hard. In order to grow, you have to have those hard things, because when you take it away, you can't actually grow. And so as Americans, in order for us to grow and go through this next level, people have to have the real information about what this world is like and what this country has been in order for us to improve. And that's an improvement for all of us to function together in a way that we're mindful of the journey that different people have taken within this country. And it's very important to who we are, and also for us to be a stronger country going forward. If not, we will topple and fall.
I find it interesting because now that I reflect upon this with you, we could look at every major American holiday, and this is exactly what we're going to find. This is the history of Memorial Day. The history of Labor Day is the same. It's not the history of unions. It's the history of slave labor, no wages, no benefits, no workers' rights, and the process that led to the right to organize. That's Labor Day. That's the history and pre-American history of labor in the United States. It just is.
Right.
The third Thursday in November, when the Union troops were winning the war and Gettysburg had been behind them, and the Emancipation Proclamation was still in front of them on January 1st, 1863, Abraham Lincoln set aside the third Thursday in November as a national day of thanks. All of these holidays that emanate from the Civil War itself have all taken on new meaning in the present. But Lincoln challenged us at Gettysburg to never forget the sacrifice that the men who paid the last full measure of their devotion did on this battlefield. That was the challenge, to not forget. And so the holidays largely came into existence as ancient landmarks that were never to be removed, so that every year we could reflect upon the role of the federal government in guaranteeing equality and freedom and liberation and hope for the people. Diallo, I know you probably have the same experience that I do. I still have faith in America. It's a deeply troubled experiment, but I'm still there. Diallo?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We are born and raised in this country. This is what we know. Of course, we understand our history and our roots beyond the shores of this country, but for multiple generations, we've been here. We've sacrificed here in this country, from the Civil War through slavery, through all of the atrocities that have happened in this country. There's a sense of ownership that's connected to this country, and it's the reason why we fight to make this country better, make this country whole, to do the things that we need to do to right the ship. It's not an easy journey, and then oftentimes we talk to folks and they don't want to be on that journey. Some of us don't want to be on that journey, feel like why should we fix something that we didn't break? But I've always, there's a privilege to being able to leave that most of our folks don't have. There's a privilege to be to escape the American tyranny that we've faced throughout our history. And so in order to stand with our brothers and sisters who can't escape, who feel the pressure and pain every single day, we have to fight. We have to fight to make this country a better place, to make sure that we are moving toward justice, and that we're not moving in the backward direction toward the tyranny that we felt and the pain that we felt in the past. And what we're seeing now, Jesse, this is a great example of all of the work that we've done has scared people to the point where they're really trying to take us backwards because they're scared of the change. But we won't stop. We're going to push forward.
I am so happy to have a young man on the show who understands the significance of that history. As our show comes to an end, I just want to add that there were once 13 stars on the flag. And then there's this period in the 1850s and 1860s where states are being added to the Union, one free and one slave. Those states today have 2 U.S. senators each, a total of 8 added from the Missouri Compromise and the various compromises in the South. So when Stevie Wonder sings that song, that we all must be given the liberty that we defend, and if we're not, history will repeat for all men. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. My very special guest has been Diallo Brooks. Have a wonderful, thoughtful, and reflective Memorial Day. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Until next week.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.